I think Lincoln Riley pushed the envelope about as far as you could push it without, pushing it off the table. The Big Ten Conference, they released their statement of USC's fake punt strategy, the one that faked everybody out. I'm going to dissect that comment. Plus, USC is moving up in the polls, and the men's hoops team, they set a new school record. All that's coming up on the next episode of Locked On USC.
You are Locked On USC, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Fight on, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Culkin, and welcome to Locked On USC, part of the Locked On Network, which is also now the #1 sports podcast network. So whether you're watching this show on YouTube, wherever you want to download this podcast, you can pick your platform. This show is going to be free. This show is always going to appreciate your support. In today's episode, it's brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers, if you can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you're going to get $300 in bonus bets that you can use across the entire app. Download the FanDuel app today. So the Big Ten, they issued a statement on Sunday regarding USC and Lincoln Riley and how they use their backup quarterback, Sam Heward, to run that fake punt. You saw it against Northwestern. Let me read you their comment verbatim. Quote, during Friday's Northwestern versus Southern California football game, with 13 minutes and 58 seconds remaining in the second quarter, facing a 4th down and 6, USC hit player number 80, Sam Heward, lined up 13 yards in the backfield with a punt formation and completed a 10-yard pass. The statement read, a second USC player wearing number 80, Sam Johnson, is listed on the Trojans roster and punted twice in the contest. NCAA football playing rule number 9, section 2, article 2 is labeled unfair tactics with paragraph D like David stating, two players playing the same position, okay, that's the key part right there, may not wear the same number during the game. If a foul was identified when Sam Johnson came in as a punter, a team unsportsmanlike conduct penalty would have been assessed, resulting in a 15-yard penalty from the previous spot. The Big Ten will continue to review the situation with both institutions, end quote. Keep this in mind, okay? USC would not and should not have been flagged for the actual fake punt itself. Sam Heward lining up at punter, wearing that number 80 jersey and throwing up the completion to Tanuk Hines, that was a legal play. Now, if there was a penalty, okay, it would have happened the first time Sam Johnson came in to punt because he was wearing the same number 80 that Sam Heward was also wearing. Sam Heward is listed as a quarterback on the roster, okay? That's a key part of this whole thing. There's a loophole. Whoever wrote the rule kind of didn't get their wording right. So when Sam Johnson came in to punt for the first time, that is when the penalty would have been applied, not when Sam Heward came in and ran the fake punt play. The rule states that once Heward lined up as a punter, okay, he is the only number 80 who could enter the game as a punter for the rest of the game. So again, the loophole. And this is where Coach Riley is going to make the argument. That Heward only lined up as a quarterback since he never punted, but there are rules regarding establishing kicking formations and qualifying as a punter kicker. It's a gray area type of thing. Pete Thamel from ESPN, he went online and tried to say that the fake punt should have been a penalty. Again, he's wrong. Bottom line, if there was a penalty, it would have happened when Sam Johnson actually came into the game. So that's when they would throw that flag and say, all right, USC 15-yard penalty. End of story. They didn't do it. So I get one side of the argument is this. If you're lining up more than 10 yards deep with nobody between you and the long snapper, you're considered a punter. Okay? You have to be a certain amount of yards back, and I guess 10 yards is the shortest distance you can be. That's too far for I guess the shotgun. So this is why, I guess if they line them up 10 yards, you're okay. But the big conference is saying, actually, the big conference actually said it's 12 yards deep. So again, this is where the whole story gets kind of funny. USC has their interpretation. The Big Ten is trying to read off what the rule stipulates. Turns out the officials on the field didn't know the rule because they didn't throw the flag when they should have. But Connor Stalions, you know that guy, right? You know the name, Michigan, former Michigan coach or part of the staff. He knows a thing or two about cheating, pushing boundaries. He posted this on X. This is another example of the NCAA, the Big Ten, and Pete Thamel not understanding their own sport and rules. Position does not equal alignment. That's why I said it has to go back to what I was talking about earlier. Quarterbacks, and he kind of laid it out. He made it very simple terms, layman terms. Quarterbacks align out wide. Think about the Wildcat. They do this all the time. That doesn't make them receivers. They're still quarterbacks. Receivers set up in the backfield all the time. That doesn't make them running backs. Safeties set up at the line of scrimmage all the time. That doesn't make them defensive linemen. USC aligning a quarterback whom they listed as number 80 on the roster, 14 yards behind the center, does not make him a punter. If an offense wants to go for it on fourth down, throw the ball with its backup quarterback, as long as they have 7 on the line of scrimmage, 7 guys on the line of scrimmage, they're good. That's on the opponent to figure it out. So here's how I read the rule, right? Just to be clear. Basically, and just to kind of put Connor Stalions' words into context, if Jaden Mayava lined up at wide receiver, then USC used number 14 at wide receiver, which means Tamir Robinson couldn't come in and line up at wide receiver. If they did, it would be a 15-yard penalty. So this is the exact reason why nobody has double numbers on guys who could be on the field at the same time. But that's for offense and for defense. Somehow or another, special teams wasn't part of the calculus. This is why the rule has to get changed, kind of get fixed, right? Just add special teams to the whole equation. All right, so it obviously looks like that, USC, Lincoln Riley, they got away with it. They played loose with the rules based on how they're written. And I'm like I said, I'm sure the conference is going to correct it. They just got to get the wording right. That's all it really comes down to. And they're going to do it as quickly as possible. Here's the thing, right? USC was creative. They got away with it. And I kind of raised this point the other day on Locked on USC. Why did Lincoln Riley waste that great creative, pushing the boundary type of play? I mean, why did he use that against Northwestern at home? I would have kept that ace up my sleeve. I would have pulled that out on the road at Oregon in a couple of weeks, or do it against UCLA just to kind of embarrass them, just because that's part of the whole rivalry thing. Definitely would have done that. And here's the reason why I would have saved it for Oregon. And it took a former Oregon Duck tight end to kind of say, you know what? All right. Don't call USC out. The last team, player, coach, anybody should be Oregon calling out USC for being Bush League. Those were former Oregon tight end George Reister's words. It was Bush League. This is what he put on X, formerly known as Twitter. Quote, USC putting a backup quarterback in at punter in the same number as the actual punter is Bush League, end quote. And I'm thinking to myself, hold on a second. Did this guy literally forget just last year? I mean, he either has a short attention span with his mind or he has short-term memory issues, one or the other. Because, again, just last year, Dan Lanning, put 12 guys on the field on defense on purpose because he knew that, yeah, you know what? Ohio State they'll take the 5-yard penalty, but they can't get the time back on the clock. So Dan Lanning, he played by the way the rules are set. I was using finger quotes for those of you listening to the show, not watching on YouTube. He got away with it. So to me, that's Bush League. Why is that? Why is what USC did Bush League, but that's not George? Want to explain that? I mean, the irony. Think about this. The irony of a Oregon Duck fan, coach, player complaining about jerseys is so freaking funny to me. Yeah, you get it. They do 1,000,000,001, uniform combinations. But if what Dan Lanning pulled wasn't against the rules, then why is what Lincoln Riley pulled against the rules? So, George, keep USC out of your mouth. That's all I would say. In fact, Northwestern's head coach, David Braun, he said this. Look, credit Riley and special teams coordinator Ryan Doherty. They were creative. He described it as a lesson learned. So, if Northwestern's willing to forgive and forget, or at least turn the other cheek, Oregon, you should too. See you in a couple of weeks. We'll see. I guess that whoever wins gets the last word, so to speak, for the season. Nevertheless, I don't think Oregon should be the ones pointing fingers here, especially when you push the envelope as far as you can push it. Because to me, doing something on purpose like that, that's just as Bush League, if you want to use that terminology. But hey, like I said, Oregon, keep USC out of your mouth. Or it might get slapped out. It'll be up there in a couple weeks. All right, so next segment, USC football. They're moving up in the polls. And then I got some men's hoop news. They won. They played Sunday. They beat Manhattan. I'm going to talk about that in the third segment. So all that's coming up next. The holiday season is right around the corner, and that means it's time to get your home ready. Whether you need more seating for guests, cozy new linens, or maybe some fun serveware for the holiday hosting, Wayfair's Black Friday sale is here to help you make your space shine. And the best part, you don't have to wait. Wayfair's Black Friday deals are happening all month long in November with up to 70% off everything from sofas to spatulas. So check this out. The other day, I was browsing through their site, and it was so easy to find these pieces that actually kind of fit my lifestyle. Nothing generic, just quality designs that feel personal. You'll like that too. I mean, if you've ever hosted family for the holidays, then you really do know how much difference a few new touches can make. Wayfair makes that easy. Don't miss it out on the early Black Friday deals. Head on over to wayfair.com now to shop Wayfair's Black Friday sale for up to 70% off. That's WAYFAIR.com. The sale will end December 7th. I want to say thank you one more time. I'll say it. I like to say it a lot, but I want to just kind of inject it here. I want to thank everyone for making Locked On USC your first listen every day. And I also want to thank you for making Locked On the #1 podcast network in the country. I mean, that's pretty cool. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. 3 times for emphasis, always. So it does not, I guess it does matter where you actually start in the preseason polls, huh? Yeah, well, the AP poll came out on Sunday. And I'll tell you, it means even more this year because, I mean, even the AP poll has gone completely wonky. It's starting to look too much like the coaches poll. The coaches poll, they always protect their own conference members. The AP poll has kind of figured out how to do that. It's gone regional. I mean, you should have equal amount of posters from each region. But the ones who hang out in that old SEC land, down in that part of the country, they're doing everything to keep themselves relevant. Let me tell you. There's some teams that are ranked, and I'll go over the top 25 here in just a second. But, USC, they moved up to number 17 of the AP poll. I think 18 of the coaches poll. And That's after starting outside both polls to start the season. And they had to wait to jump into the AP poll in the fourth week of the season. And that didn't happen until they went on the road and beat Purdue. And ever since then, they were yo-yoing back and forth in and out of the poll. They beat Purdue, they come home, they win, they beat Michigan, and then what happens? Go on the road to lose to Illinois. So USC again, they're number 17 in the AP poll, number 18 in the coaches poll, so they're ascending slowly. This is actually the highest AP ranking for USC this season, and it's the highest overall since USC was ranked number 11 in week 6 last year. Ever since then, it's been downhill. We know how USC finished last year. Once they got to number 11, it wasn't a good end of the year. So here's your top 25. Number 1, Ohio State. Number 2, Indiana. I might be considering flip-flopping those if you saw how Indiana pulled out that win on the road at Penn State. I'll get back to that here in just a second. Texas A&M, number 3. Alabama, number 4. Georgia, number 5. So 3, 4, 5. A&M, Alabama, Georgia. Number 6, Ole Miss. 7, Oregon. Number 8, Texas Tech. Number 9, Notre Dame. Number 10, a little high in my estimation, you got Texas. Right behind them is Oklahoma at 11. BYU at 12. Really? Did they not see what just happened to them this weekend? Vanderbilt at 13. Georgia Tech 14. Utah 15. Why? Miami 16. USC 17. Michigan 18. Louisville sticking around at 19 despite losing. Virginia at 20 despite losing at home to Wake Forest. Tennessee is at 21. Cincinnati 22. Pittsburgh 23. James Madison 24. University of South Florida number 25. So here's my first question. Why in the hell is Utah ranked number 15? Why are they ahead of USC? They got smoked by Texas Tech. They lost to BYU, who also got rolled up by Tech over this past weekend. Utah's best wins are against number 21 Arizona State when they were ranked, because like I said, right now they're not ranked. And they also beat Cincinnati, who is currently number 22. That doesn't explain. That does not explain why Utah is ranked number 15. I can't figure it out. And for that matter, why is Brigham Young still number 12? Because they beat Utah by 3 points at home in Provo, Utah? That's why they're number 12? I don't get what the fascination is with the Big 12 conference right now. Here's another one, Vanderbilt. They needed overtime. I mean, overtime to beat a really bad Auburn team that's using an interim head coach right now. And Vanderbilt was playing at home in Nashville. Yet they're still hanging around at number 13. I can't figure it out. I really can't. I mentioned Indiana. I think they're getting dinged a little bit because they struggled on the road against Penn State. This was Penn State's Super Bowl, their bowl game this year. They gave Ohio State a pretty good run when they played them a couple weeks ago. Great first half, and then just kind of fell apart on the road in Columbus. But I'll tell you what, Indiana, they got that look of a championship team right now. Backup receivers making these crazy catches, one on the sideline toe tapping, the one in the back of the end zone to get the win. Oh my gosh. These aren't kids. These are young men, and a lot of them are getting paid really well to play college football. I can only imagine the pain and agony in that Penn State locker room. Remember, they started the year number 2. Everyone anticipated them playing for a national championship this year. Brought all those guys back. And it has just been, they are 0-6 in the big conference. They're not going bowling this year. I think they're now 3-6. They won their first 3 games, and they've lost everything since then. So, yeah, it happens to the best of them. It happened to USC. But Penn State's going through that experience right now, and it can't feel good. I know what a locker room feels like after a tough loss. Oof. So, yeah. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is I think Indiana is better than Ohio State. At least they've got the best wins. Excuse me. And if the playoff polls are going to use strength of record, you got to start looking at Indiana and say, hey, you know what? Maybe they're the best team in the country right now. We'll see. We'll see what the playoff poll looks like this week. I'm going to imagine USC is going to probably fall in around 16 or 17. It'll mirror that AP poll. And here's what sucks for USC. They had a chance to play a ranked Iowa team this week at the Coliseum. By the way, 12:30 kickoff. So make sure you're there. Otherwise, you got to watch it on the Big Ten Network. Excuse me. However, they let Oregon come back, and Oregon kicked a walk-off field goal to win that game. It was rainy. It was cold. They were on the road. That's Oregon weather. I don't think that really affected them. Iowa they had the opportunity to get it done, and they weren't able to do it. So now they come to the Coliseum, licking their wounds. They've been eliminated pretty much from the playoff race. USC has to win this game. They cannot hang around. They cannot let Iowa hang around. USC has to put them away because that's going to set up another playoff elimination game. Remember, after USC hosts Iowa, they fly up to Eugene, Oregon. So Oregon got rid of Iowa. Now USC could do the same to Oregon, maybe, right? You gotta beat the Hawkeyes first. Check out this scenario, and this is within the realm of possibility. Since Ohio State and Indiana, they don't play during the regular season. If Michigan can somehow pull the upset and beat Ohio State again, USC and they would actually have the inside track to the conference championship game if both themselves and Ohio State just have one conference loss. USC holds the head-to-head over Michigan, and because of that, they own the head-to-head, even though they don't play the Buckeyes, because of that whole status thing. That's the way it's structured. USC beat Michigan, Michigan beat Ohio State, USC gets the nod. I don't know if USC could beat Indiana, but I'm just kind of putting that out there. And I know I'm way ahead of myself. But we'll worry about the Ducks next week. We'll worry about conference championship game after USC plays Iowa and after they play Oregon. Because if they're 9-2 at that point, the last roadblock, that crosstown showdown when they host UCLA. I don't want to think about 2006 because remember, USC had a tough 4-game stretch where that UCLA game at the end of the year was supposed to be the easiest game. I don't think it's going to be easy this year. I don't think it's going to be that easy, especially because they're going to be fighting and scrapping to become bowl eligible. We'll see what happens. We'll see. Like I said, I'm a little ahead of myself there, but right now, USC, they're focused on Iowa, and they want to, do it with defense. Score points, but also use your defense. Show Kirk Ferentz, Coach Riley. Make sure you show Coach Kirk Ferentz that you actually care about that side of the ball. Some of you will understand where I'm coming from with that. Back in 2023, that's a 2024 Big Ten Conference Media Day. Kirk Ferentz had actually before that, he had talked about USC and not being the USC he knows about, and it was kind of soft criticizing Coach Riley for not believing in defense. So last year I kind of called out Coach Ferentz at the Big Ten Media Day, and I asked him this year, did he see any improvement when Antonlynn took over? So he's now going to get an opportunity to see it up close and personal. So stick it to him. That's all. All right, one more segment to go. We're going to talk about the USC men's hoops team. Oh, by the way, the women won also. They won on the road at North Carolina State. Tough win, 69-68. They come home now. They're going to host South Carolina. I got that all coming up for you next. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you have missed the start of the game, guess what? Maybe you just want to ride that hot hand. FanDuel has live bets on everything from who'll score next to who's going to win that fourth quarter comeback. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a huge payout. It keeps everything exciting, keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. right now. FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head on over to FanDuel.com, sign up, and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. So the final score from Galen Center Sunday afternoon, USC 114. Yes, 114, Manhattan Jaspers 83. I was trying to get confirmation, so I asked Grok on X, when was the last time, what's the most points USC's ever scored? And he came back, well, not he, Grok came back and said that the 114 points is the most points scored by a USC men's basketball team since they scored 126 on December 30th, 1999, when they beat Wagner 126 to 83. USC released their post-game research. So I don't care. I don't know which one is which. Nevertheless, we're going to go with USC's numbers. It looks like this was the most points scored by a USC men's basketball team since they put up 117 against Arizona State back on March 7th, 1998. So we'll run with that. I don't care what the actual number is. 114, it's a lot of points. In college basketball, that's huge. I mean, some of you might remember the old Loyola Marymount teams. Hank Gathers, Bo Kimball, Paul Westhead was the head coach. Those guys were fun to watch. I actually watched them take out Michigan in the NCAA at the Long Beach Arena. Oh, man, it's crazy. Fun teams. Anyways, I digress. So the victory saw this game, USC improved to 2-0, and they had 7 guys scoring double figures. They actually had 11 different guys score. They emptied the bench at the very, very end. First, Chad Baker-Mazara, he had to get his career high with 26 points. He did that in 23 minutes. Apparently, he had to ask Coach, hey, put me back in just for one more. He's not sure how Chad knew him, but Chad told us after the game, well, I just looked up at the big screen. There it was. I needed another point. So Coach put him back in. He got his career high. He came right back to the bench afterwards. Remember this name. He's quickly becoming one of my favorites on this team. I'm still getting used to all the new names, the players, learning how they like to play with each other. Ezra Asar, excuse me. He had a really good game. He scored 17 points. He was really efficient, 7 of 10 shooting. And I think he also had probably the prettiest play of the game. It was on a fast break, spin move in the lane. Nice finish. Here's what I like about him. He's a forward. He knows how to create space. He can play through contact. Something that the guys didn't, other than himself, the other guys on the team struggled with a little bit tonight. And here's how you know it. You're going to like the stat, but these guys have to improve when they're down low. So USC had 55 rebounds as a team. Okay, great number. Manhattan had 32. However, out of those 55 team rebounds, 24 of them happened on the offensive glass. You like that they're hitting the glass. I mean, that's great if you're missing a bunch of jump shots from the outside. Great, love it. But most of those, and when I say most of those, they came off of missed layups. I'm sitting there watching going, okay, missed layup. And I swear to God, it looked like an Angela Reese layup drill. If you know, you know. Young lady plays in the WNBA. Yeah. She has a reputation for being a little bit like Moses Malone, kind of putting it off the glass, grabbing a rebound, padding the stats. She'll do this like 2 or 3 times before she finally makes the easy, gimme. That's what it looked like. It was hard to watch sometimes. It's like, how are guys who were 6'7" and they had a huge size advantage over Manhattan? It's like pump fake. And they're afraid just to go up and go through the guy. Just do it. Anyways, another good stat. They only had 12 turnovers as a team. That's really, especially when you're moving up and down the court, scoring 114 points, that's a good number. I'll also accept this. They were 24 for 32 at the free throw line. Could be better, but I'll take it. I'll take it. USC, bottom line, they dominated this game. I think the Jaspers had coming in. This might actually be USC's easiest game of the year on their schedule. They're ranked 240 in the net. Whatever that formula is, the higher the number means you suck. And Manhattan just isn't a really good team. They're not going to compete against teams like USC who play in the big conference. They're just not. So it was a 3:00 game, Sunday afternoon. Nobody showed up. And there's really no excuse for this. I know some fans will say, well, Mark, why don't you talk about the basketball team more on your Locked On USC podcast? Well, it was the offseason, number one. Number two, I've gotten feedback from my listeners. I want to talk basketball, but if nobody wants to hear or listen to it, I'm not going to ruin my numbers and my ratings and have people tune out. So yes, I will talk about the basketball team, but do not come at me and blame me for, they said there was 4,300 people in the arena. No, there weren't. The students, where were they? Midterms are over. So there's no excuse for no one showing up. Don't tell me, well, you're all at home watching the women's team on TV. Please stop it. Eric Musselman, he does everything he can. He's like the man on the streets trying to generate energy and, excitement for this program. The problem is USC doesn't do it on their end. And how do I know this? I'll tell you how I know this. I was talking to one of the guys. He's a student at USC. He writes, I'm not sure if it's for Annenberg Sports, one of the student types of affiliations. I said, how come the students aren't here? He says, Mark, the USC just does a terrible job promoting the product, the program. So there's your answer. It's not because I don't talk about it on Locked On USC. I will talk about it, but don't expect me to give you a full show, especially when the fans don't show up and support it. Now, this is how USC basketball works. It's a bandwagon program. When USC's winning, the fans will show up. So as USC continues to play and they continue to win, I will be talking about it here on Locked On USC. But anybody who's thinking, well, Mark, maybe if you did more on your end, please stop. I was there. Fans weren't. So again, low energy crowd. And again, that sucks for the team. Bottom line. And as I mentioned, the women, they won on the road. Nice win against North Carolina State. They should probably be ranked now. Next game's coming up. You got the men. They're going to host Illinois State at the Intuit Dome. That's going to be part of the Hall of Fame game series. And the women are going to be hosting South Carolina at Galen Center next Saturday. Same day USC hosts Iowa. I think the women's game starts at 6 p.m. So after the football game, get on over there if you don't already have a ticket. Game's probably sold out. All right. There you go. That's it for this episode of Locked On USC. We talked about USC football. We talked about how Lincoln Riley got creative, pushed the envelope, got away with it. We'll see how they change the rule going forward. And then, I'll obviously talk about USC moving up in the polls. Everything's right there in front of them. Playoffs are there. All they got to do, win out. You're going. And then we finished off the show with a little bit of basketball talk. I'll be back again tomorrow with another episode of Locked On USC. Marvin Powell III, MVP3, he'll be joining us. We'll be giving out our grades, tell you how USC did against Northwestern in their win. So until that next episode, everyone, you know what to do.